My uncle's farm in Texas was completely destroyed by a herd of wild boars in the span of a single night. In spite of the fact that he was a seasoned hunter, he was easily overwhelmed by the sheer quantity of pigs and their brazenness this time. Due to the fact that he had no other option, he requested assistance from our hunting crew. Following the completion of the strategy, we directly started our search on the land that belonged to my uncle. We installed automatic feeders in order to entice the boars to come in. Distracted by the aroma of food, the pigs arrived in a hurry, eagerly searching for whatever scraps of food they could find. As they relaxed their guard, Maris steadily took her position, focusing her attention on the target, and then she fired. 1, 2, 3, and an unblemished single shot. Her ability to drop the boar was astounding, and she did so with complete assurance. During the same time period, my friend Enda and I discovered a few additional boars hiding in the vicinity. I drew within striking distance, selected my target, and pulled the trigger. A lead pellet fired from my air gun made contact with the body of the boar. Surprisingly, it gave forth a piercing shriek before slumping to the ground. I didn't win by a significant margin, but it was a win nevertheless, and that got me pumped up. Seeing that there is power in numbers, we dispersed ourselves over the region in order to increase our chances. Every one of us concentrated very hard, aiming with great care and firing our rounds quickly and decisively. The aim is to drop as many as you can before the sun goes down that night. The following afternoon, we went back out on the farm grounds to continue the hunt. Almost immediately after our arrival, we came upon a sizable herd of fully grown boars. They stood motionless, monitoring us with a wary eye. Almost instantly, I brought one into my line of sight and fired. One shot, and one of them hit the ground immediately after it was fired. Next, we walked toward another feeder that we had already positioned. Despite the fact that they were still caught in the invisible trap of their appetite, the boars had not yet noticed us. As I waited for the ideal shot, I positioned my rifle in a prone position from a high vantage point. The piercing crack of the rifle reverberated around the room with just one press of the trigger. Quickly, the boar fell to the ground. During the time that the sun was setting, we continued to spread feed and waited. In accordance with their nature, the gluttonous pigs were unable to resist the aroma, regardless of where they were located. I moved closer to them while concealing myself behind a shrub and keeping a distance from them. When I was certain that my target was within striking distance, I pulled the trigger. Only one shot that was well placed was all that was required to bring the hog down. After the sun had set, we went back to our enclosed hunting blinds to complete the last round of the game. I positioned myself in a favorable position, brought my aim into focus, and then shot when the time was right. The execution was flawless. The shadowy figure retreated and lay down in a position that was perfectly still. In Texas, wild hogs were first observed in the latter half of the 17th century. In the beginning, there were only a few stray animals. However, over the course of time, their population has skyrocketed to more than 2 million, causing more than $500 million worth of harm to the environment and crops each year. In response to the crisis, which has become more out of control, the authorities in Texas have taken extreme measures, including the organization of helicopter hog hunts, which have transformed the air into a battlefield against these destructive monsters. As soon as the clock struck 4 o'clock, we boarded the aircraft. Our fight against the wild hogs got underway as the helicopters took off into the skies, representing the commencement of the conflict. Look in that direction. It seems like a huge herd of pigs, doesn't it? You can find them wherever. Instantaneously, I loaded my rifle, maintained a solid grip on it, and started taking aim. The rapid-fire gunshots were mingled with the noise of the motor from the vehicle. I hit a clean hit with my opening volley, which was successful. In response to the sound of gunfire, the remaining members of the herd dispersed in a state of fear. However, we instantly gave after, quickly closed in, and opened fire. Several additional hogs were slaughtered in a matter of seconds. While Neil's helicopter was flying in another section of the sky, it was flying above the fields and doing a survey of them. Due to the fact that Neil had spent years hunting, he had no issue focusing his attention on targets and bringing them down with pinpoint accuracy as soon as they came into his line of sight. Our group continued to move further in the direction of a vast grassland. Ralph was the one who fired the gun this time. We were able to get a clear photo because the helicopter descended to a lower altitude, which provided us with the ideal angle. Ralph took a few moments to steady his aim before firing a volley of shots. When we flew, hogs fell from the sky. All of the surrounding area was suddenly engulfed in a hail of gunshots. It became a relentless sweep, and there was no room for escape anywhere in the process. It was our primary objective to locate larger herds, as these herds are responsible for the greatest amount of harm and reproduce at an alarming pace. We had been circling for around 10 minutes when we finally found the ideal target. Without delay, we moved in. No hesitation on my part. I pressed the trigger without any pause in between. However, because to the persistent vibration of the rotor, the bullets occasionally deviated from their intended path. To eventually bring them down, we frequently had to shoot many times before we were successful. In the morning of the following day, we were once again in the air, prepared to go on another hunt. But this time, we had a new partner with us. Our first stop was at a stretch of land that was adjacent to the farms. It did not take very long until the first target became apparent. It was a solitary piglet running over the wide ground. On the other hand, it was unable to outrun the hail of bullets that were falling from the sky. The collapse occurred nearly immediately. The aircraft continued to go forward steadily. Because there was not enough vegetation in this region for the hogs to hide, it did not matter how quickly they ran. They would not be able to avoid their fate. Each individual remained firmly rooted in their positions and laser-focused, aiming and firing with lethal accuracy. In the blink of an eye, gunshots reverberated across the sky, and the hogs fell like flies, dispersed throughout every length of land that we traversed. These invasive beasts, whose rampage has tormented this region for far too long, were destined to meet this death on account of their inexorable nature. The number of pigs that fell was so high that we lost count. However, regardless of the number of individuals that we were able to eliminate, it seemed like a mere drop in the ocean when compared to the rapid rate of reproduction that this species had. After the intense aerial sweep, we returned to base for refueling, but our minds were still racing because here's the truth. You can't outgun nature forever. These hogs learn fast, smarter than you think. That night, we sat around reviewing drone footage from past hunts. What stood out wasn't the chaos, it was the patterns. Some boars were actively avoiding certain fields they'd once frequented. Others circled feeders without approaching, as if remembering where their kin had died. One sow even taught her piglets to root sideways, digging into bait piles from the edge, keeping distance from hidden traps. They're not just wild animals, they're problem solvers, survivors. A wildlife biologist told us later that feral hogs can recognize human scent days after a person has passed through an area. They can even detect certain types of engine vibration, ATVs, trucks, and even specific chopper flight patterns, and adjust their movement to avoid them. Underground tactics, traps, and ambush pits. To counter this growing intelligence, we changed tactics. No guns, no noise, just old-school trapping and underground ambush pits, a brutal but effective setup. We constructed a drop-gate corral trap, using trail cams to monitor hog activity in real time. Once we confirmed the whole sounder had entered, we triggered the gate from a mobile app. Boom! Caught over 25 hogs alive in one go. Elsewhere, Enda set up a series of pitfall traps, narrow, camouflaged holes covered with brush, and baited just enough to tempt a single large boar. Sure enough, the next morning we found a 350-pound male stuck inside, thrashing like a beast out of mythology. It wasn't pretty. But in this war, pretty doesn't count. We also partnered briefly with a university research team testing experimental birth control pellets. The idea? Target female hogs and chemically lower their fertility without harming native wildlife. They're still perfecting the dosage, but early results are promising. One group saw a 48% drop in piglet births over 2 seasons. More radical still is the use of genetic engineering. Scientists are exploring gene drives that would cause hogs to produce mostly male offspring, eventually crashing their population. But that's still years off. Right now, it's boots on the ground, bullets in the barrel. And it's not just rural farms anymore. We've responded to calls from suburbs outside Austin and Dallas where wild boars are showing up on golf courses, in parking lots, and even backyards. One night, we set up in a cul-de-sac. A massive hog had dug up an entire flower bed and tore open 3 trash bins. I took the shot from behind a parked car, with a suppressor, of course. Clean hit. No one in the neighborhood even stirred. These hogs are adapting to cities, feeding off garbage and using storm drains as passageways, a network of underground tunnels to move undetected. It's surreal, but real. Back at my uncle's property, we've installed new perimeter defenses, electric fencing, motion-triggered lights, and regular patrols. But we know it's just a matter of time. Because for every boar we take down, there's another sow out there birthing 6 to 12 piglets per litter, 2 or 3 times a year. That's how this war keeps dragging on, like trying to hold back the tide with a rake. But as long as they come, we'll be ready, rifle in hand, eyes sharp, always learning, always adapting, just like they are.